what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Hello and welcome back to Street Circle Drive. It has been a minute since we've been on the air. We apologize for that, but you know what? Life happens. It was the holidays.
It's McNally's fault, honestly.
When all else fails.
Blame McNally.
Well, if I wanted to hang out with you, I would have given you a shout.
Well, okay. Well, nonetheless, we are
Sorry,
back.
Sorry, it wasn't the Christmas spirit. It's a new year, new me, right, Moose?
New year, McNally.
I've heard that from you before. How'd that work out last time?
Last year. Mm-hmm. The new me was not much different than the old me.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit bigger.
I went back and listened to the January episode last year. We did talk about the New Year. We even went to a very healthy, nutritional place to eat and everything.
Holy God, was that a year ago when we went there and had that discussion?
Ago. Yeah.
Really?
A year ago, yeah. We went to Active Edge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That seems like...
McNally is a lot slimmer since last January, I think. It was a New Year.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome, buddy.
Oh, goodness. It's good to be back with you guys. We have big show because we have guests here today. We have two of them.
That's how awesome the show is.
Two from the City of Hickory. So, which, as most people know, if this is your first time listening, Street Circle Drive is our Hickory-centric podcast here on The Mesh. We do hope that you are listening on your favorite podcast player, but and finding out some other shows that we have to offer here on The Mesh, you can go to iTunes. You can check us out on themesh.tv. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all the good things online. Now, the housekeeping is over. All the good things online we are a part of.
I like it.
Yeah,
the internet.
You put that on a pillow one day. You just watch. It's going to be cross-stitched. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Moose because you're going to introduce our guest today.
That's right. And before I do that, I'm going to give us everybody a little backstory. So in 2014, we, as the great citizens of Hickory, voted overwhelmingly, close to 60%. We voted yes to approve a $40 million bond to fund projects that would improve our community. Being that Street Circle Drive is a Hickory-centric podcast, as Mary Margaret so eloquently explained to you before this, we're now seeing construction and starting on the City Walk. And we wanted to invite our two guests, Yaidee Fox and Dana Kaminsky, to the podcast today to talk about the progress of the bond projects and what we should expect in the coming months. So thank you, Yaidee and Dana, for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. We're glad to be here.
We're
excited to be here. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So let's start from the beginning. 2014. We voted yes. Here we are today. We want to go over some of the things that are happening in our city and what we should expect. So, Yaidee, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Thank you for coming. So, what is going on with the bond project currently?
So we'll start with the City Walk since there's multiple different versions of the bonds projects going on right now. As some people may have already seen, along Main Avenue, around the 4th to 9th area, you may be seeing some construction there. We're actually putting in some water lines. That's because we're trying to get some prep work done before the City Walk comes through, so then it can just be more surface work. So we're trying to do everything that's infrastructure-based to go ahead and get that out of the way. So you're also seeing some telephone lines moving as well over by the Von Drell building, really close to the WHKY area, right in that area close to the salt block. You're also noticing a lot of barricades there. There's a lot of power lines being relocated. So what we're doing is we're working with Duke Energy, and we also have a company working with us to move those water lines because those are very old. We're getting those updated while we're getting everything done all at once. So you're seeing that moving along. The City Walk, for those that don't know, is a 10-foot multi-purpose path that starts from Lenora and University, and it goes all the way to 9th Street. But thanks to us getting a recent build grant in December, it now not only goes from 9th Street, but it'll extend down to 11th. And both 9th and 11th Street will connect over to Old Lenore Road, and that will actually get over to what's our River Walk. So all of that is our bond projects, and it's all 10-foot multi-purpose pathways where people can bike or walk to get here and around to a variety of different amenities, to jobs, to get to their homes, to be able to get to different services and retail and restaurants. As we continue to see these things change, you're going to see better access to things that are going to be more pedestrian safe. And so certainly the City Walk is getting the prep work done so that you'll be seeing sometime in the coming months the bid documents will be going out. We'll be advertising for bidding on the City Walk. We also are working on Union Square. So the Union Square and the block all around it. We'll also be getting some updates. You'll be seeing some things that'll make it a lot safer to be able to cross over to get to the different areas there. If you've not seen it, it's on our website, hickorync.gov. There's a great little button there for bond information and crafting Hickory to find all this information. But the plans for Union Square have a completely different look of a huge event area for lawn. There's going to be some outdoor dining opportunities. You'll just be seeing it get this whole new, fresh look. And so certainly we're trying to make sure that people are aware of all the construction as all that begins to progress a little bit more. And we do anticipate bidding the Union Square downtown project very, very, very soon, probably in the next month or two. The Riverwalk is actually the next one that is, well, there's one that's actually a little further along that I'll get to in a minute, but the Riverwalk is actually in design phase and permitting. And so it's also a multi-purpose pathway that has a very beautiful bridge that goes over the water, and then it goes up into the trails. It's a great mix there because you've got our wonderful bike trails that are already there, and then we've got our Lackey project that we're working on as well. And the Riverwalk and the Lackey project are right around the same time frame. And so you'll be seeing all of that finishing up with design by the end of this year, and then we'll be bidding things out. And so we're working on all of that in concurrent timing with them. And then we've also added in some additional projects thanks to NCDOT, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and with our build grant with USDOT. And so we have another multi-purpose pathway that goes across from City Hall all the way down to the Ridgeview Library, and then it'll go over to 4th. So it'll allow some better connectivity over to 70 at the neighborhood, the Walmart neighborhood grocery store. And then last but not least, on the build grant, there's also a pedestrian bridge that will be going over 321 Super Street. So they'll be widening that, and we were not able to get people to get access to the other side without this bridge. And so now we'll be able to create a bridge, and then there'll be a 10-foot 10-foot pathway going over to the airport. There's one more project that's also in progress too, and that's the 32170 Gateway. If you've had an opportunity to come to that exit, you might have seen they started the plantings on that last fall. They've been getting everything prepped and ready. Now they're nearly done with all of the landscaping. I think there's going to be some structures people are going to start seeing going up in the next month or two. So very exciting things.
Did you just say Super Street?
Yes. Well, that's what they call it.
What is that?
It just means it's
Superheroes.
I think it's whenever it's like 6 lanes, but it's an NCDOT terminology.
That's where 321
Yes.
is? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
One thing I did forget to mention, though, was on 321, we have actually also talked with NCDOT, and when they build their new bridge, which will go a lot higher than the current bridge, we'll actually be taking over the northbound bridge that is between Catawba County and the Caldwell County. Yes, and the extension that I mentioned that was from City Hall all the way over to US 70 is currently being called the Book Walk.
Book Walk.
Mm-hmm.
Jinx. Well, that's great. You know, a lot of folks that I've talked to who are inquired about the progress of the bond and everything, and I'm sure you've caught this too. People just aren't patient, and that's probably the understatement of this podcast. So, Yaidee, if I'm not mistaken, the design phases for all these projects, have they been completed?
No.
No.
Some of these are new, too.
Okay.
So we just got funding for some of them. And when I say we just got funding, I don't mean like we've got the money for it. Some of them we just got the agreements. So there's a process where we have to start working with the stakeholders and meet with them and get the design phase done, and then we have to start with the approval process. And so when that happens, then you start seeing things bid and all of that. So there are different phases for stuff, and when you're talking about things that have state or federal money, it does take a little bit longer because there's a lot of approval processes, which is the reason why this has taken the time period that it has. However, we do realize it has taken a while, but it has given us an opportunity to be able to extend the money that we currently had. So we started with $40 million, and now we're well over 43 million, or I'm sorry, not 43. We've added an additional 43 million in grants. So now we've got 83 that we're working on all of these projects that is specifically to those projects I just mentioned.
Right. And you see, as I'm sure these folks are wondering, should these monies go to what this project should, what sets precedent over each project, which project starts first, et cetera?
Well, it really has been where we've gotten the funds. So there are certain projects that are further along because we've gotten grants on certain things at certain time periods. And so as we're able to get started with them, we're trying to immediately get them done. We've got some that are currently in a phase, like the book walk is in the phase now where we have gotten the documentation to start it, but we're having to work with we're meeting with all the stakeholders. So it's not started with the designs yet because we want to make sure we get all the parties that are going to be involved together before that happens. And then you've got some that might be a little bit longer because it's connected with NCDOT, like Old Lunar Road. So that one's currently scheduled for 2020 because it's actually now been designated as a project in partnership with NCDOT. And so depending on which one, it depends on where we are. It's not necessarily us just picking out the priorities on some.
Right.
I was going to say something to that too as well, because I think people might have a question about, so these dollars, why aren't they just used to pave the roads, or why aren't they used for this specific project that somebody might see in Hickory needs to be done? And Yaidee can discuss, the referendum, but there was specific. On the referendum, it's very specific as to how those dollars get allocated.
Right.
And so we
just can't eradicate homelessness with these grants.
Exactly. We'd love to. We'd love to help in that. And we are in different ways. But these dollars are specific, and they're very specific based off of the standard of what the voters voted on and passed. And so if anybody has questions, they can go back to the referendum and look and see what those two were that they voted on and how we have to use those funds. Now, we've gotten additional dollars on top of that, and those also have strict stipulations on how we use them. When you're working with DOT monies, federal dollars, state dollars, you have a very thorough process that we have to go through. So, and I think that also talks to the timing. We have, she said, stakeholders. Those stakeholders are Norfolk Southern, Duke Energy, USDOT, NCDOT. We've got some big partners that we're working with. And so we want to make sure it's thorough, it's vetted, that they have their approvals, they've seen everything that they need to see to feel safe, comfortable, and all those things that we're doing with a city walk that's up against a railroad, all those pieces. So it takes time. And I know, we've been talking about this on the show, but we've been talking about this for 4 years. We know that. And we understand, we're excited. We want it to happen. And we're right there with you. We get that. But we do, and we did have a bond commission as well, 42-member bond commission that nobody's ever done before. And that's great community input. And we were excited to have that community input. But it does take time because we had a lot of input and we really had to vet that input and then go through the partnerships of all these stakeholders. So I know people didn't see the groundbreak yet, a little bit right now, but they haven't seen it. It's coming. Trust us. It is. We really want it to happen too. But we really want to make sure that we've done it right, thoroughly. What's that measure twice, cut once statement?
Right.
It's a little bit of that. And we want to make sure that we're following through with all the stipulations and guidelines that we have to.
Right.
So.
I hear a lot from, maybe I don't hear it personally because I like to think I surround myself with people that are happy about the stuff the city's doing. But I read maybe some concerns from people about tax dollars. Maybe some griping. It's like, oh, my tax dollars this, my tax dollars that. Like, the fact that we're getting more money is helping, right?
Right. It's allowed us to be able to stretch what we are able to do. So what we started out with originally was a business park with the bonds. The $40 million was a business park and essentially a 5.2 mile trail. Now we're more than 9 miles because we've been able to spread those dollars because of the grant funds. And of course, there's still the business park, which is currently thriving, and we haven't even talked about that yet. So just knowing that there's these investments that people are doing, and we're so appreciative that people saw what was needed. The reason for the bonds was we were losing thousands upon thousands of jobs in about a 10, 12-year time period. It was over 40-some thousand jobs that were lost. And then you think about the population that was lost. It was like between the ages of 20 to 44, we had 26% in our 4-county region for the job losses and for the population. And one of the things that happened, of course, was everybody came together. You know this. I mean, you guys are from this area, but people came together and decided we need to make a change. And so knowing that, of course, we brought forth the bonds, and we are seeing that happening now. So one of the things that we did with our city manager, Warren Wood, is there's been some reorganization with the city, and we now have an Office of Business Development. We started looking at what are better ways that we can attract businesses to the area because we want to increase jobs, increase population, increase the tax base in this area. And so knowing that, we also brought forth this Office of Business Development Committee or group, and the department has actually studied the entire 5.2 mile trail in partnership with the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. What's happened is we were able to realize that there's going to be so much development going along in that corridor because the things that we're putting together, those amenities, is really going to be able to really drive the opportunities for us to have the job growth, the population growth. And what we know based on some of that information is that we will essentially see a $500 million private investment. That's one of the goals that we have studied in that buffer of about a quarter mile on each side of the 5.2 mile trail. We'll see about 1,550 new home housing units in that same area, 8,000 new jobs, and a population increase of 3,500. These are really, really conservative estimates based on the research that the staff did along with the Western Piedmont Council of Government, which is also found on our website too. But what we wanted was to be able to have some goals as we're doing this work, because these are very important tax dollars, and we want to see them go into all these areas and help revitalize this community.
Something, too, I think with those numbers that she said, this is the buffer zone that goes along the main spine, if you want to call it that, of the whole city walk down to the river walk. And it is through the downtown area. It doesn't mean we don't focus on our other areas of the community, because we do, and we care about that. The book walk goes through a community and 2 different communities that maybe aren't even part of this spine area. But with those goals, it's a 15-year plan. So we're going to measure that continually over those 15 years. But we also, Trivium, for example, our corporate center, has 2 companies that have been announced. Corning is expanding and creating a business there as well, which is awesome. Jobs. And these are high-paying jobs. These are not low-paying jobs. And then yesterday we did a groundbreaking for ITM. And that was amazing. It's a German company. They chose Hickory, North Carolina to come here. It's their first United States-based operations. And that's not even in that buffer zone. So what we're saying is, and what Yaidee is saying too, is yes, these hopefully will beautify our community. There'll be nice amenities for us to use and utilize as citizens. But they're economic development driven. When you see Transportation Insight sitting right beside the City Walk and all that they have done to that campus and all that they did to a mill that was run down, looking very terrible in our community, unfortunately. Look at Holler Mill, Moretz Mill, that whole area of that university mill area. That's amazing. We expect to see that continuing. We expect to see that continuing along the zone that we're talking about, but also at Trivium and other places throughout the community. We just believe that this one has been encouraging new conversations. It's been encouraging more businesses to take a look at Hickory. We are marketing, so I could talk to marketing to Tad if you want me to. We're marketing in different ways than we ever have before. Some of our citizens sometimes I think say they don't see it or hear it in Hickory, and we are using tools, and we can talk to that of how they can connect in. But we are marketing to Charlotte as well. You may not see that if you live in Hickory. We are marketing to companies to come from other places. It's wonderful. We want Cornings to expand here. We want our current companies to feel like they can do that, and that's wonderful. But we also have to touch other communities externally. And so those dollars are getting spent in different ways that might not have been spent like that 10 years ago. So if you say, I don't see ads, I don't see those things, it's because we're reaching Asheville, we're reaching Charlotte. So unless you're getting those publications and those TV shows and all those things, you may not see those things. But we are advertising. We are looking at new ways to do that. We're looking at new ways to communicate our messaging to get it out further. Our brand, Life Well Crafted, that started, I can't believe, like 9 years ago now. And it's been 9 years.
I wouldn't guess that.
Michael's face just, so what? I know, it is crazy.
Wow.
But I am so proud of how it has been embraced by our community. Truly, when you start seeing just restaurants putting up food well crafted, and I'm like, it's just everywhere. I'm thrilled to see that. Or, theater well crafted, symphony well crafted, everything's well crafted. We love that. But the brand was built on partnerships. It was built on a lot of great events, a lot of great things like that. But we have moved further because of these bond projects, because of economic development, because of the Office of Business Development that Warren Wood has implemented and put together. We are looking at how we take that brand message, not just the brand of Life Well Crafted, but this whole message of our community further. How do we expand outside of Hickory, outside of the 4 counties? Because we're an MSA of 365,000 people. We're not just 40,000 in Hickory. So when we sell ourselves as a big community, we are reaching Charlotte in a better way. So we're not just one thing. We're lots of things together. And what's good for one is good for others. We believe that in our area, in our community. So we got to get that message past just our 4 counties. We got to get it to the state. We got to get it to the Charlottes. We got to get it to those places. And that's what we're doing. So there's a lot of local tools people can connect into to get this information. Do you want me to touch on that?
Sure, absolutely.
So, of course, we have our website, hickorync.gov. But even to make it simpler for you to remember, go to craftinghickory.com. It's just craftinghickory.com. You go to that page, and it talks about all these things. Your bond projects, your private partnerships, the downtown construction, when that starts, that page will be out there. All the things you want to know about what's going on, craftinghickory.com. So that's simple. We have, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have all those, and we use those on a regular basis to get this message out. We have an e-newsletter. Just give us your email address. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to sell it. We're not going to do any of that crazy stuff. We just want to get you some information if you like email. Not everybody likes email. So if you get a water bill, we have a hard copy called the snippets in your water bill, or it's online. So if you don't want to read that piece of paper and you don't get a water bill in the mail, go online. It's on hickorync.gov as well. Publications. Click on publications. It's right there. So we have a lot of different tools that we are using. Of course, we have partnerships that we're talking with, our Economic Development Corporation, our Chamber of Commerce. We have so many different partners, CVB, our Convention Visitors Bureau, that help us get our word out too. What I challenge our community is, on a daily basis, are you all sitting around just thinking about what your government's communicating to you?
Obviously.
Yes, you are. I know you are. That's why we're here.
That's exactly right. That's why we invited you.
Yes. But I would challenge our community because I get it. I mean, not everybody's sitting around thinking, wow, wonder what the government's telling me today from your local perspective. But we do want to tell you stuff. We've got a Facebook page that's pretty active and pretty fun, and we've got almost 10,000 people on that page. So we ask you to connect to it. Connect to Twitter. We live feed our city council meetings. So if you don't come to our city council meeting, we encourage you to. But if you can't get there, we live tweet it. That way you can learn what's happening and what got passed or didn't get passed. We ask you to connect. That's all we can ask. We're going to provide that information in a lot of different formats. We have a Crafting Hickory magazine we've done and pushed that out through Hickory Daily Record. So we've done some advertising pieces as well throughout this process. But if you don't get that one piece, you may think we're not connecting or giving you information. We just challenge you to connect to the government a little bit more during this time frame. Connect to our website, connect to craftinghickory.com, or any of those pieces I've talked about, especially social media, because I think almost everybody right now seems to be on social media in one form or another. If you're not, it's okay. You don't have to be. You can get an email. And if you don't like email, we'll give you a hard copy of something. But we have it. We just ask that maybe be cognizant of those things and think, oh, maybe I should connect into something, and now I'll get some more information. We're always happy to talk to you in person. Of course, we're there at City Hall, and Yaidee or I or anybody would be willing to talk. But That's not always feasible on an everyday basis. So that's my challenge, is just think more about what's going on. And instead of saying we don't know what's happening, the paper has worked with us really well, too, to get stories out. So when big things are happening, they've been really good about putting stories out for us. So it's not always going to be in the newspaper. Some of our stuff that's happening, it may just have to come from us. So we appreciate you all letting us come in and talk about this, because this is another way that we can get the message out to people. And we'll be sharing this, of course, throughout our tools as well. But I just want to make sure that people knew all the ways they could connect in.
Absolutely. No, I think that's very important, because I have heard from several people, again, just in community stuff. I've been in some presentations where Yaidee's come and shown slides, told people the walkthrough, if you will, of I guess they're like in phases or stages or something, as how to things, here's slide 1, here's slide 2. Right. So is that something that other groups in the community could take advantage of, is getting a little bit more of a personal, direct showing, if you will?
Sure, yes. We've had people to call our office and request presentations and just get updates. And so civic groups and just community groups, different types of, it doesn't even matter what size it is. We've done that for many people. They just call and we get it scheduled, and we're happy to do it.
Great. That's good.
So we opened this... we announced to our social media followers that we were going to be podcasting with you guys this week, and we asked them to provide us a little bit of input on and some questions that we could filter to you guys today.
Okay.
So, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and fulfill my promise to these folks. Okay. One of our listeners asked, could you explain a little bit about the metal fence around the Arrowhead Park next to the salt block? And is there a reason why the fence was there to begin with?
The metal fence was put around the fountain because it was a security issue. We're just trying to make sure that it was safe. As you know, it doesn't take very much for people to
be dumb.
Well, to get hurt, essentially.
Fall in.
We can say that they won't.
Yeah, we don't want precarious little boys to fall in around the...
It's a beautiful feature. I mean,
it
it's a gorgeous area.
Yeah.
And they did a beautiful job, but there is a water feature there.
Yeah.
So think about, it's not a swimming pool, but think about swimming pools. You have to have fences around. We just don't want somebody to fall in there. We don't want a child to get, that's why the fence was necessary.
Right.
Understood.
So are you happy with the way the bond has been handled and executed from the very beginning to where we are today? If not, explain.
So I think one thing that I can say from this, especially being somebody that has seen it since before the bonds were even started, I think you learn from a variety of different things. This has allowed us the opportunity to take a step back and work with additional public input and stakeholders. And so it's also allowed us the opportunity when things go a little bit slower to essentially use those money, the money from the bonds, to leverage it to be able to go after additional grants and help spread those dollars, but also help spread it out throughout the community to help further grow what we're trying to do. And so essentially I think it's helped by doing so. When you think about all the different people that have been allowed the opportunity to provide input, but also for us to be able to do more now.
Do you have any specific policies or processes that you would like to see improved with the overall implementation of this bond?
Well, I know one of the things that we've done is we've changed the format since we've started with the City Walk. We now have a different process that we've done internally that we are now working through as a different process. And so I think, again, when you have those opportunities to take a step back and spend a little bit more time, then it gives you more of an opportunity to reflect on it, to how you can better improve things, because we're always looking for ways to improve stuff.
Yeah, something else that we did through this process, because we've learned, again, this is the first time we have taken on something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, Yaidee, when was the last time you said that a bond had been done?
The last time we've had a bond, and it was for a water, I think it was a water treatment plant, and that was back in the 90s.
Yeah. So this is a big undertaking for cities. And so we're learning as we go too. And, we've got some great people in place that know what they're doing. But we've learned that we needed a transportation manager. When you've got a ton of Department of Transportation projects coming in the near future, and we've got all these things that we're working with as far as, Norfolk Southern, a transportation venue, the railroad.
Right, we have an active train that comes through.
You gotta think
that
about
seems
that. Yeah.
like a big important part of this whole puzzle.
It is. And, we've learned about stakeholders and how to work with them and bringing them in from the beginning. Maybe we learned some pieces from that and how to work with them. But we brought in a transportation manager. Warren Wood, through the Office of Business Development, hired John Marshall from the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. That was a new position, and we knew we needed that. And John's been instrumental in helping with the Build Grant and different things that we're getting with monies and how to keep that on track. So I think there's some things that are important that we've been learning, and definitely policies and procedures change as we go. So we know not everything's always 100% perfect. We get that. But we're working always to find the positives and how to fix anything that might have come across as not a positive in what do we need to be doing as we go forward.
And I think that's, just to spawn off that real quick, there are so many players involved in everything that you do.
Right.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, anything we do out by the lake is Duke Energy, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And that, I don't think a lot of people always realize
And Diener.
that.
You have Diener too, big time.
Well,
Yeah, so it's
essentially there's an approval process for 21 different agencies. When like our bridge part, there's 21 different agencies that have to do an approval on that. So I mean, when you think about that, there's a variety of different partners.
absolutely. It's just like anybody in their job thinking that they have to go through and get a paper signed by 21 different people.
Yeah, it's more than just signing
And to
it. I mean,
review
there's a lot
and
of-
to review that
yeah.
project every single time. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, there is. And I think that, again, we got very excited in the beginning when everybody passed it. We're like, yeah, we're going. This is exciting. We can't wait. And we wanted to build that excitement. And I know 4 years have gone by. So people are now like, okay, we were excited. Now what? We've tried to communicate, but it's not easy to communicate 21 different approval processes
Absolutely.
or any of these things, because a lot of this stuff, too, is we're working with an individual agency to try to get information to them, back to us, legally, making sure all those things are, the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. So that's not something you put in the paper every day.
Yeah.
That's not something we push out every day. So as we made big progress, we did put that out. But 4 years seems like a long time, but to us, maybe 4 years went by fast because we've been working behind the scenes on this every day.
Right.
There's been a lot of stuff going on. So we don't want the community to think that nothing's been happening. It has gotten us to this point. And we knew that there was design involved. We knew there was permitting involved, all these things. And I don't think if you're not working in this area, you don't necessarily know it. You just want to see it happen.
Yep.
And we're right there with you because we do too. But we want to make sure it's done right. And so thank God Yaidee and their team have been so instrumental behind the scenes in making those pieces happen and come together.
Absolutely.
Well, you talked about some intentionality too, both with how the city is approached and learned along the way. I know we talked about Union Square and how that's been, designs were put out there, then reworked because of input from citizens. So I think in many cities across the country, when they've had a project like this, it's easy to passively say, hey, come get involved.
Yeah.
Well, then who shows up? The people that are already plugged in. And then what do you hear? Oh, it's just the good old boys network, or it's the same old people. So not only has that been a part of it, but then the city intentionally going out to neighborhoods, to companies, to different civic groups, whatever the university, downtown association, all these different groups having to be intentional. And I know you say, all right, now the other side needs to be intentional and listen to the communication and be actively engaged. And then the better part of that is they need to spread it like wildfire and actually speak positively on it. It's one of the unattractive things about government work when you're sitting there and as a citizen in a city is you don't see the majority of things that are done.
Yeah.
Like you just want to flush the toilet and just turn on the tap water 100%. And know that everything goes where it's supposed to.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that is
there's
not
a lot
easy.
behind that.
It's a lot behind it. It's very expensive.
It is. Yes.
So, that's the other thing, too, is that intentionality both from what the city has done and has learned to even do better, I would assume.
Yeah.
And then bond implementation crafted, better. But then also the citizens learning about it and kind of going along the process together. I mean, hopefully when things come along in the future, it'll be smoother on both parts. And, as we have more projects like this come on, which when this has the success that Yaidee was talking about, when we hit those numbers and exceed those numbers, I don't know why we wouldn't have.
Yeah. And, this isn't the end. I think this is the beginning. I mean, this is what people have to realize. This doesn't stop after these 4 projects that got passed because we've added a book walk. We've added a bridge across 321. We continue to add. We have an Inspiring Spaces plan that I forget has almost 80 different things.
At least 80, but that was just the ones that made it to this
The
plan.
list, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, we have
The
potential.
corporate park will have its own life.
Yeah.
And its own life
There's
cycle.
so many pieces we can keep doing as we get funded and we continue to move forward. We love the community input. We do. If we didn't love it, we wouldn't have created a bond commission to begin with. We didn't have to have that. So that was important to have those people involved, to have their input. We've learned through that process how to get the input, how to make it go by faster sometimes. But again, first time we ever did that. But why we wanted their input to begin with is because we wanted 42 people in our community to feel engaged, not just 42 because we've rotated people out, but engaged in the process enough to then go back and tell 10 of their friends.
Absolutely.
The best form of advertising is word of mouth. And we wanted people engaged in this process to help us spread, like you said, spread it like wildfire. I mean, I always sound like the cheerleader, of course, because I'm the brand cheerleader for the city. But I love it, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm not lying about it because I live in this area. I'm happy about being here. I wouldn't work for this entity if I didn't want to be a part of that. But I say glass half full. We can always look at the glass half empty. We can always say there's not a place to park. That's been the topic. There's not enough.
We have
there's
exhausted that one on here.
Yeah, we could say that. But you know what? If I chose to walk a little further, there is a place to park. I choose to do that at Walmart.
That's right. Could be in Lazy Hickory.
It's a fall park. So my job is to try to help people understand that you can walk a little further. How do we do that? How do we make that more fun? And how do we get people engaged in? Guess what? If you go to another city, you're probably going to pay, number one. Number two, you're probably going to have to walk pretty far. So Hickory's been fortunate. We understand the retailer perspective because they've had tons of conversations with the retailers in the downtown about those things that concern them. And some of that did make us go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, let's revisit this and think about how we need to do this better. The construction that's going to come. We've been presenting that to the Downtown Development Association, and we are already working on a campaign. We're already working on things together. We're already talking about detour signs and parking signs and things like that. We're trying to make sure that the information is getting out there to the public. Will it always be 100% perfect? Probably not, and not everybody's always going to know what's happening at all times. But our intention is to make sure that is happening. We're very intentional about that, and we want to make sure that our community feels heard, but also that we have a process to go through and we have to move through it quickly sometimes. City Council is the ultimate decision maker, and they are the ones who get to tell us, we want to move forward with that. So we want to make sure we have all those T's, again, crossed and I's dotted before it goes to them so that they feel comfortable in what they are approving for the future of Hickory.
Absolutely.
The future of Hickory is what matters. We've got young kids in high schools who are excited to move on with their futures and their lives. We want them to be in Hickory. We want to keep them here. We understand that, when you're young and you go off to school or something, or even if you don't go off to school, you might want to experience some things that are different than where you grew up. We understand that. That might happen. But come back, raise your family here, buy a house here, live your life here, because it's a great area and a great community to do that in. We are so fortunate in this area to have the things we have. A salt block just is one of those things. Not all communities have 2 hospitals in their community, and have the theater and have a symphony and all these awesome things. So we want these young kids now to know these projects are designed to make sure they have jobs, to make sure they have companies that they can get jobs at, and that they have cool amenities and things to do to stay here and bring their friends back here. Because that's what we hear, and that's what we're talking to is the future community. We're all here now, talking, and in the next 5 years, we'll see these things come to fruition. But what's going to continue to happen for Hickory and build Hickory? Look at other cities that have done some. Greenville, it's a great example. Chattanooga. They looked at those cities, how many years ago? 5?
It was in 2010
Yeah.
when we started those tours.
It's been a while, and they took tours of those cities to really get a feel, before we did any of this, for what was needed and what built those cities, what made them who they are today. So people look at the bridge in Greenville and go, oh, that's such a cool factor on their city walk thing that they have. I'm probably saying that completely wrong for them. Sorry, Greenville. But, it's a place people go as a destination. We want to be that too. What do we need to do to be that? If we have a cool Rosales Bridge on Lake Hickory that jets out onto the water with mountain bike trails, that's super cool factor for some people. That's just something we didn't have before. Yeah. So that's the stuff we're looking forward to, that we're excited about, and we're right there with the public saying, we can't wait for it to all happen either.
Right. And, like I said earlier, I think it's just a matter of people being patient,
Yeah.
keeping themselves informed, and in that same sentence, though, I think a lot of the underlying grumblings is people want the city to be so transparent that they want to be spoon-fed things, So that being said, where can these people, besides the website and all this, is there a way or a site that they can go to see where the money's spent? Not line item receipts for hard hats, but just how the money's being spent. Is there
Yes.
something in the process for that? Or?
Yes, and there is actually, and it's been out there. It's part of our budget process. I don't think the direct link in my head, but you can get to it through our website, hickorync.gov, or through craftinghickory.com. But there is a budget portal that we have. We hadn't put it all out there together yet because we hadn't spent the dollars.
Right.
That's the big key. I think people want to see it, but we haven't spent it. We haven't asked for the bond money.
You don't have a receipt yet.
Yeah, by the way, your tax dollars haven't been touched yet.
Exactly. So once that begins, of course that's out there. The budget's always open for anybody to see.
Sure.
It's completely transparent. You can come to city council meetings, get a budget book. You can look at it online. Every piece of it's out there. And so we're not telling the community about those dollars. They haven't been spent yet.
Right.
So it looks like they've been spent, but yes, we've spent portions of it, but we have to go back and actually allocate it through the bond funds. Then you'll start to see the disbursement of those pieces out there. Do you want to touch on any of that?
Well, and I was just going to say that there is a button on the bond information link that's on our website. But one of the things that I wanted to mention was it's real time. So what you see on there, and you can see anything in our budget. It's all there. So if you wanted to look at a particular department and see how much they're spending on anything operational, you can see that all on there. And so the same thing will go for whenever things are being put into account into the bond funds. And so all of that will be it's already there, but as soon as it's people are starting to see that and starting to pay the taxes towards that, then it'll all be able to be allocated. So certainly we want to be as transparent as possible, and we're always willing to answer any questions anytime anybody has any. I know you mentioned the website and stuff, but certainly we're a phone call away, an email away, a visit at the office. So certainly we're happy to help and inform in any way possible. And that's why I really appreciated you reaching out to us to even come here today, because I've just enjoyed getting to know you guys.
Thanks.
It's been fun.
I have one more quick question, because
Sure.
I think this would be fun to talk about, because we always get so serious about those dollars and the taxes and everything.
Some people need hobbies out there, Moose. That's what you need to tell these people.
Exactly right.
They can't even keep up with their own house budget, I'm sure. And then they're sitting there. That's the official opinion of Michael McNally, not the City of Hickory.
The funny thing is, I hate to get on our listeners, but guess what, guys? The same thing, the same instrument that you use to send me a message about what to ask, you could also be used to search and find exactly what you're looking for. So just keep looking, guys. Keep digging. Keep being patient. Go ahead, Mary.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll let the boys be the smart Alex on the show, and I'll ask the fun questions. I'll do that all day long. But no, I was going to just ask, since we are coming to you from the Harper Motor Building downtown, we're right behind the post office. Obviously, this building is going to be right a block away from the City Walk, so we're all pretty invested in the City Block idea or the City Walk, and what everything is happening in downtown Hickory and stuff. So indulge us for just a minute on some of the neat little things I've heard about that will be on the City Walk that incorporate like Hickory's history. And I've heard little snippets about, I don't want to say the pretty things, but the pretty things, like what people have to look forward to. This is not just a paved sidewalk that you're putting down, right? So what's going into it that's going to be the pretty part of it and the neat things that the citizens can look forward to?
Well, I think, so first of all, it is a 10-foot multi-purpose pathway. And so knowing that that's pretty wide, because most of the time sidewalks are not anywhere close to that. So you can almost double what you normally see. So it's a very wide feature for people to be able to get by, because you want it to be safe. There's people that want to run or bike, and then you've got people that might want to walk. And so as you're walking along there's going to be little areas for people to be able to sit, be able to look at different things. There are opportunities to see some historical features that are representative of the area. There's also going to be some wayfinding signs that will make sure that people know how to get here and there and wherever, because as we know, we have people that might come by and be visiting and here for some meetings, and they might want to just, they're here a little early and they might want to take a walk somewhere, but they might want to get somewhere. And so we're always trying to improve our wayfinding signs in some way, shape, or form.
Wonder why.
I mean, it's so easy to find where you're going.
I told you I love the name.
Yep.
But so certainly we want to make sure that it's a fun experience for people as they're coming and going. But we also want it to be safe, and so it won't just be concrete. It will be. It will have opportunity for some landscaping, all throughout. And then on the main Union Square portion, and there'll be pockets of this all along, but just as an example for Union Square, you've got garden rooms that will be there that will have sitting, and we're looking at different ways that we can maybe make that environment a little bit more friendly. People have asked us about, hey, what can you do about, is there music? Well, we're looking into that. If there's, because as you go to certain places, sometimes just that feeling, the lighting is different. That's the other thing. The lighting is going to improve heavily all along the city walk. It's going to be very bright. People will be able to...
Well lit at night.
Yeah, exactly. We want it to be a natural, safe environment for everybody. So certainly you guys will be just a block over, but you'll be seeing lots of activity.
Yeah.
After the construction.
Yeah. Right.
You'll be seeing lots of activity. And so, we're really excited about that because we know people are really wanting to see this completed, and we are too. And so we're really excited about what's coming.
We want to see people downtown and enjoying themselves, eating outside. Yeah. Well, there's a statement, somebody, I don't know who quoted it, but being alone together. There's little parklet areas that people can sit and enjoy themselves with a bunch of people in Union Square, but they could be alone in their little area.
Eat your lunch, relax, get a walk.
Have the LR students come down and just hang out, and Wi-Fi accessibility. That's big.
Well, that's something we've talked a lot about too. And Moose and I both went to Illinois Ryan. For any of the listeners, they're no surprise to that. But McNally went to ECU for everybody that wants to know.
Did anybody hear McNally's eyes roll in the back of his head up there?
All he wants to say is R or whatever these parents say.
I don't have much to brag about, but so go right ahead.
Okay. But, having been a student that lived on campus and was aware of the things downtown. I mean, of course, this was years and years ago, but there wasn't always the easiest way to get downtown. Yeah. Now, you could. Yeah. Clearly, you can walk. It's not that far, to get down there. But did you want to?
Yeah.
And a well-lit, well-paved, designated walk, if you will, to get from university to downtown, I think is key. I think that's crucial. I think that's such a selling point for not only the university, but the city. I think about whenever I've gone to any other big town university, and you're walking where the university ties in with the city a lot. I think about Chapel Hill, right? You're walking down Franklin Street. I mean, that's a normal street that has nothing to do necessarily with the school, right? Right. But you're intertwined with the school, and they've mixed together elements of educating people about Chapel Hill or the school itself. So I think that's really important and exciting. I'm very happy for that.
Yeah. We want to keep those students here, too.
Absolutely.
Like, after they graduate, we want them to find jobs here.
Yeah.
They might all not be from this area, of course.
Sure.
So we want them to say, hey, my time in Hickory was great. I want to stay in Hickory and find a job in a company there. So that's another piece of why we're doing this. Not just the high school students who currently live here.
That's right.
The people that go to LR and, even Appalachian and places like, we want to be a stop. We don't want to be like driving by to go up to App anymore. You're like, hey, Hickory is a good stop.
Yeah.
Hickory's a great place for restaurants. Hickory's a great place to, did you know they have that Riverwalk? That's really cool. Oh, I'm going to go take my mountain bikes and ride on the, there's cool. I want there to be that cool factor. Yeah. I've labeled something recently called Cool Factor Buzz. I don't know. It's my new thing. So I'm saying I just want there to be that cool factor buzz. I want people to talk about Hickory in a good way.
I grew up traveling a lot with my parents who were going to conferences a lot of times, and these conferences were in some pretty neat cities, not always the biggest cities, but still neat places. And I always thought it was cool that even though I was at this, I was a kid, granted I was tagging along with my parents' summertime conference, but I got to see a lot of different places. the conference attendees would get, things that you could do around town, right? Like, here's your little booklet about where to go and whatnot. And it always seemed like there was, walk to this and stop by our aquarium and then a this and then a that, and this is that thing for us, right? Like, this is just go hop on the city walk and walk, and you're going to come across so many things.
Right. If you are ambitious and you like almost 10 miles, you don't have to do it all.
Right.
But you can. If you want to get on at Lenore Ryan and you are at the university there, and then you want to come down through downtown, and then you just want to go to Old Lenore Road, and there's some cool things going to be happening there, and then you get to the Riverwalk and that area, and then you could cross over and go up to the stadium to see the Crawdads play. I mean, that's going to be an ability for you to do.
Yeah.
And so,
well, it's funny you said that. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I was debating it. I will never name names of who said this, but somebody actually asked me and questioned one time, like, well, if I'm on the city walk and I want to go to, like, a shop downtown maybe or something, right? Like, how do I get off? And I pictured that some of these people maybe have like one of those airport moving sidewalks like in their head.
You can't get off.
Right. Yeah. You can't get off of it. Right. Yeah. Like, it's not, you gotta show these people that's why I'm glad these plans are online and stuff, and hopefully encouraging people to go look at it. Like, it's a sidewalk, but it's a fancy one, right?
Yeah.
So it's not
stop at Union Square,
that's right.
do your thing.
When
go
we
back
say
to where you parked
stop
or
and get off, it's not like you have to ring the bell on the bus to get off, right? You can just walk
choose.
over there.
Yeah. Take a step off of it. You're good.
City walk over there.
Yes, exactly.
So, well, I really appreciate it. I've been super excited about the month. I know that it takes time. I know that these are things that cannot happen overnight. And yes, everybody's a little impatient about it, but I'm sure you guys are too. Because you see it every day and you're excited about
We've
it,
been
right?
living and breathing it every day.
That's right.
And I will say one last little plug here. So we knew the conversation for the last couple of years has been, when's it going to happen?
Yeah.
Guess what the new conversation is going to be? That construction.
When's it going to be done?
When's it going to be done? So bear with us. To get there, we got to go through some construction.
Yes.
We're going to tear some things up a little bit. We're going to change the parking around a little bit. We're going to move some things in downtown a little bit. So we know that's happening. Bear with us. We're going to do the best we can to communicate those pieces out, to make sure you know what's closed, when things are closed, and which ways to go or not go. But also, just give us a little time, and you're going to start to see downtown come to life again. You're going to start to see portions of that city walk get built. And then eventually we're going to have it all connected, and that Riverwalk will come to life. So we're very excited about what's coming. But bear with us through the process, because there's always a little bit of heartache to get to the really good stuff.
I definitely encourage everyone to go follow you guys on social media, because that's one place I feel like I at least see it.
Yeah.
If I don't read the whole thing, or if I don't, whatever, I know it's there.
Yeah.
And so it's a quick, easy resource. Like you said, most everybody seems to be on some form of it, and you guys are covering the spectrum. So I really encourage people to go do that and follow, because you're getting those quick updates. And I've been in a meeting with Dana where she's talked about the construction directions you're going to give, sort of, like, because if a street's closed and you've got to detour it, you're going to be giving heads up, but you're going to be encouraging people to know that things are still able to be open and arrived at and shopped at. And
don't avoid our downtown, please.
That's right.
Come downtown. We have great stuff downtown.
Yeah, and they're still going to be open.
Yeah, they're going to be open.
It's going to be open.
Yeah. They're not closing because we're doing some construction.
You just might have to park on the other side.
Exactly.
Right.
And we just encourage you, don't drive around and say, oh, I can't get that spot right in front of such and such business, and I'm not going to go in there. No, they need you now more than ever to come downtown and walk just a little bit further. And, once it's all done, maybe you'll get your spot back in front of your space. Right. But you know what? Even if you don't,
it'll
it's
be
okay.
prettier.
It's going to be prettier. You're going to be excited about it. But those retailers are amazing, and they've worked with us really closely, and we want to make sure that people are still frequenting those places downtown. So thank you for that plug. And also, just so you know, we just recently, holding ourselves to our word, so there is some blockage happening right now with some of those detours with the water lines Yaidee was talking about. And we got that stuff out to the paper, and they have it on the front page of the paper. It's a detour. And I was like, yes, yay, it's right there on the front page. Yep. Now, it's not the epitome of blocking your world that you can't get somewhere, but it's enough to just say, hey, I might not be able to pull into the parking lot next to Lewisfield City Park right now from that side. I have to go to the other side. How do we get there? We put a detour map. It's all out there on our newsroom. We have a city newsroom on our website. You can click on any press release we put out. It's all out there. So it's working.
Yeah.
We're working with our departments to get that information as quick as we can, and timely in getting it out there. So we're trying to stand behind that word.
Well, and there is no excuse for anyone to not be able to find their update. I mean, there's
That's
just
right.
not. There's hard copies on the newspaper. There's internet. There's social
There's
media.
just a little effort.
It's
Just a
you
little
just
effort.
gotta take.
I wish
some
I
time
could
to do it.
spoon feed it to you. I really
know
wish
it.
I could.
I know
but
it.
that's nobody wants to get 50 texts a day from the City of Hickory anyway,
This
right?
is true. This is true. I mean, I'm glad you guys can admit that.
So, Dana, one last time for our listeners, the websites that they can find all this information.
Yes, definitely. HickoryNC.gov, main website. It's where you pay your water bill type thing. It's our government services. CraftingHickory.com. It's part of our website, but it is its own domain. You can get all the bond information you want, all those projects, our private partnership information, all those wayfinding construction updates will be there. And then we have our City of Hickory NC-government Facebook page. We have our at City of Hickory Twitter page. We have Instagram. So any of those places as well.
So you're saying you guys are accessible?
We're pretty
Right.
accessible, I think.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in
We
and
appreciate
you all very much.
with us.
Really
Thanks for doing
appreciate
this.
it.
We've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So, guys,
But you know what's even more fun is that they're going to stick around for just the last few minutes here because they went to eat with us.
that's right.
Yeah, we did.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's yummy.
Yeah.
We're excited.
That's right.
So you want to talk about that right
I
now?
mean,
go ahead.
you
That
know
was-
you want to talk about food. Come on now. We all like to talk about food
I'm
around
glad
here.
McNally's getting picked on more than I am.
And this
today.
is just Dana and
No,
Yaidee,
I'm
like our
saying-
personal opinions here.
This is
But, yeah.
well. This is totally. This
Not
is where
city
we all.
related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where. As a reminder, Dana reminded us today. You know, Dana and Yaidee are not speaking as city employees at this point. Now, from this point on,
Yeah,
right now,
exactly.
Take your City of Hickory hats
And,
off.
Hats off.
and it's just like we don't speak for the mesh. You know, we don't speak for that. This is us coming to you as our personal opinions, but it's also hopefully to educate you and inform you a little bit about what's happening in the food scene, which we've brought up a couple of times. The Hickory has a really good one. We want to put a spotlight
Yeah,
on
I don't
it.
think it'll be a problem with today's.
You got a good feeling about today?
I have a good feeling about today. So today's adventure took us to Hart and Soul, which we tried to do beforehand. And word to the wise, they're closed on Mondays. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. So
Yeah, good to know.
We were able to make it out there today. And they are located downtown Hickory in the old POB, the old post office barbecue building. I'm not even going to try to pretend what streets that's on. So
Nope.
go to your city
on the fourth.
go to your city website and find out more about exactly where it's located. And so Hart and Soul, they're open for breakfast and they're open for lunch Tuesday through Sunday. So we were there for today's lunch, and a couple of great things that we found out. One, everything was homemade, made from scratch, including the mac and cheese, all the vegetables,
Chicken pot pie.
chicken pot pie, even the pastry on that. We were pretty impressed.
That was impressive.
And breakfast is served the whole time that they're
All day?
open as well. So I guess they have two menus. I didn't get a breakfast menu,
Right.
but we all stuck to a traditional lunch fare, so to speak. So a pretty, I would say it was a succinct menu. It wasn't an overabundance of options. There was 3 sandwich wrap options, like 3 burger options, 3 what I would call more your traditional meat and vegetable options, and then some specials.
The chalkboard of specials. The chalkboard beauty of specials.
Yes. And so speaking of which, I had the special, and I only had one dish there, Moose. So 2019,
New you.
new year, new me. So I only went with one menu item today, and I had the homemade chicken pot pie with one side, and I had the collard greens. And so I know 2 of us at the table had the pot pie, and it was
Yaidee
can speak from her vantage point, but we were kind of sharing some notes. So it came in a large soup bowl, basically 2 pastries, it was sandwiched in between. So it wasn't a traditional pie
And like
with
a pie
the
dish.
crust where you break into it. I thought it tasted great. You could tell it was fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was homemade.
Yeah, every taste, every bite of it was from the chicken to all the vegetables that was in it. It was just amazing, just because it oozed out of the sides of the pastries. Because like he mentioned, it was somewhat of a sandwich kind of a thing. But as you took your fork and tried to get into it, you could hear the crunch of the pastry. It was just
Yep.
delicious.
And so you had it in every bite too.
Yeah.
I mean, every bite was
Yeah.
consistent to have. It wasn't like you just had
It was a
soup
very
one,
light
and then
meal too. For it to be
It was.
chicken pot pie.
I mean, for me to only have one, and it was still a light meal. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you both like had some good CPC, old clean plate clubs in there, didn't
Oh, yeah. I didn't have a spoon to really get down in there, but I did pretty good with a fork.
Good.
Yes,
So
it
you
was
enjoyed
excellent.
it.
Oh, it was very good.
How were the collard greens?
I enjoyed it. I mean, they were vinegared up. Moose had them too.
I did.
He gets the okay symbol across the table.
So good.
So I enjoyed it, and the water was excellent.
Oh, lovely.
Yep. I just want to make sure I
Powerful
pointed
City
out
of
there
Hickory
that, you know.
Yes, powerful
Yeah.
City of Hickory water.
Yes. Thank
And with
you,
no lemon.
ladies.
You don't even need
We're
lemons
very
in City of Hickory water.
Yes.
That's how fresh. Moose, what did you partake in?
Well, I also went on the menu and had the smoked turkey platter with a side of collard greens and green beans. It also came with Texas toast and hush puppies.
And you're a repeat offender. You've been here before.
I have, man. Yeah, this is the second time eating that smoked turkey, and it's great. It really is. It's really flavorful, not dry at all. I added the vinegar-based barbecue sauce onto it, and that's where it's at. It was, very reasonably priced too. $8.99, something like that. So
One of our cheaper fares.
it was, yeah. My entire bill was like $11 with tip. That's lowballing from some of the escapades that we've had.
Yep.
Mary Margaret, what'd you have?
I had the New Orleans shrimp po' boy
Wrap.
wrap. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it was excellent. Lettuce, tomato, some sort of sauce on it, and
And it wasn't fried shrimp.
no, it
Like a
was
fried po' boy.
They were grilled, but they had a little bit of blackened seasoning on them, and it was delicious. Super light, did not feel heavy at all. The wrap was like a pressed as well, like grilled pressed on the outside, so smushed in there a little bit. But the shrimp were big and yummy and cooked just right.
Nice.
And the mac and cheese.
Oh, that's what was your side.
Yeah. And it was delicious.
Yeah, I was about to say, the
Yes.
two of you over there kept talking about it.
Dana and
and
talking about our mac and
I
cheese.
like some mac and
because
cheese, but it was homemade and it was good. Yeah.
I mean, I can usually
a connoisseur
just about
of the
any
finer mac and cheeses?
Well, I can usually eat any kind of mac and
Yeah.
cheese. I
Okay.
mean, I love me some Kraft,
Yep, yep.
whatever. That's fine. But this was like one of these that I was eating it, and I was like, wow, this is good mac and cheese. And I thought, like, they cooked this perfectly.
Yeah.
And then Dana reminded me that everything was homemade. And I said, even the mac and cheese? She said, yes. And I was like, well, then it's really good mac and cheese. Because then I'm like, wow, somebody made this stuff and made it this kind of box perfect. It was great.
Did it
And
have
it's
the
your good old
crusty
city.
stuff on it?
No.
crust, all creamy.
This was
It-
creamy.
Great, standard, good old mac and cheese. Like,
I stared at it a little bit. I definitely
Yes.
could have ordered that. It
I
looked
was
good.
nose deep in collard greens, man. I didn't see anything.
it's just and those of you that have children will understand this. Like, my kids would eat this mac and cheese.
Yeah.
It's not fancy mac
Yeah,
and cheese.
yeah,
Big
it's just
difference.
good old
Yeah,
mac and
my
cheese.
kids will eat this
Yeah.
mac and cheese, but I would eat this mac and cheese
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah.
it was good stuff.
It was good.
Yep. And Moose, she also had the soup du jour.
Oh, I forgot. It was the
soup of the
soup of the day.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
I did. I forgot. I usually have to because I enjoy soup so much. But she said that their soup special was tomato bisque.
Based-
She called it bisque or beta.
I think she called it a bisque.
Or just a tomato. I don't know. It was whatever it was. It was again homemade.
Chunks of tomatoes.
Big old chunks of
Chunks,
tomatoes.
yeah. It
in
wasn't
there.
a creamy.
Yeah,
It
it
looked
was.
good.
It was looked like somebody had just been smushing the tomatoes in there. I mean, that was that good.
That's amazing.
Great flavoring to it. Probably had that basil flavor in it too. It was really nice. I just got a cup of it. So it was just enough. It was great. Came with little crackers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yaidee, you had the chicken pot pie. Mm-hmm. And then what did you have as your side?
I had green beans.
How was that?
That was amazing.
Yeah?
It reminded me a lot of growing up. Our family had a farm, and they always did green beans. And so when you can them, and if you know that, from this area, and I don't know if it's done all over, but yeah. So you cook it with, certain things, and it just tastes amazing. It reminded me a lot of that today.
Okay.
So if you enjoy that kind of homegrown green beans, it really tastes like that.
Again, not out the can. This
No,
is real.
No. You could tell that it was not, because the green beans didn't even look like they were all, the same length or whatever.
Right.
They looked like they were fresh. So it was delicious.
Yes, they look good. I think all of our sides kind of passed that test. Everything did come with the side. So just as a point of reference for the menu, everything does come with a side, but they do have other sides you can get a la carte for. So, Dana?
Yes. So I had the Old Hickory dip. Which is a better word, I guess, for the French dip.
Yes,
But the Old
Hickory.
It's the hickory dip.
French.
So it was delicious meat and I did not get it with the onions. I'm not an onion fan, so I just did the mushrooms and cheese. And the cheese, I think it's Swiss, was melted over it with the mushrooms. And I was saying at lunch, the roll, the bread that was on was perfect. It was soft enough, but crunchy.
Yes.
It needed to be a little crunchy so when you dip it, it doesn't just fall apart and get soggy and nasty. It did not fall apart. They side of au jus with it for dipping, which was awesome. The whole sandwich was great. It was plenty. I came back, I'm like, I'm really full.
It was a good size sandwich.
The meat was great.
It
wasn't like really
right?
teeny little sliver. It was like nice, good chunks of meat.
Yep.
All put together really well. Nice presentation from everybody's food, I think.
I think so too.
And I had the mac and cheese, of course, which we talked about, which is great.
So good.
And
so good.
Those are some pro reviews right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've noticed
I'd go back
that.
for sure.
Oh, totally. Good crowd in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good crowd.
Yeah.
Parking would be
Parking
the
was
only
a
thing.
hassle.
Yeah. So parking's tight. So you might have to park somewhere. If you can't get in that little lot, you might have to park somewhere else. Don't not go.
That's
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
This is a common theme. There's plenty of free parking within a 2-minute
Walking
walk
distance.
of Hart and
You
Soul.
all- you all-
I parked
We did.
by the railroad tracks and got
Yeah.
there in no time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Parked in the neighboring building.
Yes, we did. 'Cause there were no
So
signs
I'm sure they
about
appreciate
it, but
that a lot.
There were if they would put up signs, then I would obey them, but
Yeah.
there were no signs.
The staff was great. I mean, the service was good.
She was super
Yeah, she
nice,
was.
Very nice.
and I think too. I a while back, I've been there for breakfast one time and just picked up a liver mash sandwich, which was delicious, but because it was liver mash, it was fixed properly. But if you go to their Facebook page, they take a picture in the morning. And then at lunchtime, they do 2 pictures a day of their chalkboard.
Oh.
Okay. So in the morning, because those specials change every day for breakfast and for lunch. So if you take a picture, or if you go and follow their chalkboard pictures, that's really all they put up too. Like there's nothing else to it. They just post those pictures. I have seen on there things such as crab cake Benedict for breakfast.
Oh, my.
Shrimp and grits is on the menu.
That's on the lunch menu,
It
too.
was on the menu
With the
today.
This morning they had the Mexi scramble with potatoes and toast and banana pancakes with
Ooh.
pecan
Hi.
maple butter.
Yes,
Might be
so-
going
Get
back
outta
tomorrow
here
for
with that.
breakfast.
Well, for example, today the lunch one was the chicken pot pie, the meatloaf,
Meatloaf sandwich, yeah.
and
and
she
cheese.
also told us about a ham and cheese, like grilled ham and cheese with a side of soup,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, the
wouldn't that
tomato
just be
soup. That was
fantastic on like
Yeah.
a day you just picking up some lunch or something too. So I did, as I was walking out of there, I did get distracted because on the board it said banana pudding for $1.99, and I was like,
Oh, I didn't see that.
nobody told me.
Crab cake, I didn't see the crab cake sandwich. That was on there too. I'm currently looking at the picture on Facebook.
So we definitely encourage you to go and look at those pictures, because then go and then get in there at that lunch crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely be
Yeah.
going back, trying a bunch of new things.
Well, what was your rating, McNally?
I would give them a solid. I'm going high. I'm going 9. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Because the size, especially new year, new me. The portion sizes were actually, they weren't too skimpy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't overwhelming. It didn't weigh you down. I mean,
Yeah.
with the fresh and being homemade, it was,
And the price.
and the price was great. Very convenient, in and out. I mean, while it was, the parking lots were packed or whatnot,
Right,
there were
right.
still seats available. I mean, I was pleased. It was very good. All right, Margaret?
I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10.
That was mine.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it. I really liked the food that I had. The people were friendly. It was clean. It was a good atmosphere. But as you all know, I'm not a huge sandwich fan overall. There was a heavier sandwich section on the menu, and I wish that there was a couple more of the almost like plates.
Yes.
But I think they make up for that some with their specials, but that's kind of a crapshoot, right? So I don't really know necessarily, but the wrap I had was great. So I still want to give that high score. So 8.5 out of 10. Yaidee?
I would say 9.
Atta girl.
It was that chicken pot pie. It was legit. It was legit.
I mean, when
The pastry on it was great.
homemade pastry,
Yes.
and you hear this crunch, and then it just flakes all over it. I have no complaints.
They need to put that on the menu. Like
Yeah.
this print it.
Yeah, because
put it on there. It was good.
That was not on the
It
menu.
was a
special. It was good.
Interesting.
That. I'm going to go 9.
Okay.
'Cause, I think it makes me want to go back and try a bunch of different options.
Right.
No, I do agree with that. I do want to.
I'd give it a 9. The only thing would detract from the 10 is the parking is
Yes.
tough. If you don't know.
That's right.
And if you know, it's not a big deal. But I think all the options looked delicious
Yeah.
that we all had, and I enjoyed the atmosphere, and
Yeah.
I would definitely go
And
back
I think
for
the
lunch.
price is good,
And
which is
breakfast.
why it is going to be crowded a lot too, because people
Yeah.
can get in and out of there quickly.
Yeah.
I love the price.
For
I think under
affordable.
$10.
Absolutely.
And it was a good, like you said, good portions and everything. And nice selection.
Yeah.
Not overwhelming.
Right. I think your crowd, you're going to have to either be just before that 12
Yeah.
noon or just after
Yeah.
that 12 noon, but they do close at 2:30.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get in there quick. I'm giving it a solid 6.2 out of 7. It was fantastic, y'all. That's
high.
place. It is. It's high. That's a high score from this guy.
And it's a
yeah.
8.85 for normal people.
He does.
That's right. Thank
He
you.
does do
Thank you for the metric schedule.
Moose always does his ranking on a scale of 7.
Out of 7. Why wouldn't you? So,
Like it.
I would absolutely go back there. Not to mention it's like 2 blocks from our office, so
Yeah.
we should be hitting that place up more than we should, or more than we do. But yeah, absolutely, the food was great. The price point was great. The decor, it feels like you're in a little country kitchen.
It was a lot like P.O. Barbecue
Yeah,
used to be,
absolutely.
which I adored, and
Just
that was
updated.
great. Yeah, it is. It's just looks
P.O.B.
like it's
was
got
not
like a
updated.
fresh coat of paint in there, you know?
Right.
Put a little spit shine on it. I like it.
Right. And again, we were talking about Hickory's Hart and Soul Cafe, and McNally didn't have the address handy, but I've got it right here. It's 25 4th Street Southwest, Hickory, and
On the catty corner from Alex Lee and down First Avenue.
that's right. Y'all go check that place out. They'd be
It was
happy
awesome.
to see you.
Good show.
Good. Everybody feel good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much for
Yes,
being
thank you.
here from City of Hickory. We
appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it. We hope everyone got a little bit of their questions answered. Moose had some good questions. I saw that even some of the questions that were mentioned on your page were covered before you even had to ask
That's
them.
right.
So that's good.
That's right.
We try.
Excellent. Yes.
try.
Yes. Well, very good. Very good. And so, as a reminder, we are on the Mesh.tv, the podcast network here in Hickory, North Carolina. We've got lots of shows for you to check out over on the network. You can find everything at themesh.tv website, or you can go on social media. You can see us all over the, what do you call it?
The internets.
The internet's all over, all good things, all online. And if you have a question, you have a review that we should go try out at your restaurant, if you'd like to buy us lunch, we'll talk super
Or
nice
two.
about you as well. Yeah. We're probably on like the first time that somebody offers to buy us lunch, we're probably going to still have to
Take advantage of it.
just get one meal each, right? But we do encourage you to send us your recommendations. And if you have any questions or things that we should discuss here on the show, let us know. You can email us at info@themesh.tv or find us on social media and shoot us a message. Otherwise, it's been a great day. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time on Street Circle Drive here on The Mesh. Say goodbye, boys.
Bye, boys.
Later on, Hickory Knits.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.